Hello, good evening. I am Maria Di Blasi. I am here with Bridge to Health New Mexico, and this is part of the health talks that we've been having regularly. Today, we're going to be talking about obesity and how it has affected us and what we can do about it. And remember to leave all your questions and doubts and any comments underneath below, and we will be glad to get back to you with all of the answers. I'm representing Bridge to Health New Mexico. Our offices are at 628 Riverside Drive in Española, New Mexico. Feel free to drop by, say hello, or if you have any questions, you can call us at 505-927-8516, or you can send us an email at bridgetohealthnm@gmail.com. So today, there's two things that we're going to do. We're going to do a presentation, and we're also going to do a small video. Okay, so we're going to start with the presentation. So today we're going to be talking about the risk of obesity. As the title says, this risk is very, very real. From the year 2000 to the year 2018, the prevalence of obesity increased from 30.5% to a whopping 42.4%. And the prevalence of morbid obesity increased from 4.7% to almost 10%, 9.2%. So obesity and all of the related conditions are some of the leading causes of preventable and premature death. So we can prevent death. We can prevent premature death caused by obesity by taking better care of our health. In 2013, it was estimated that the direct medical costs of obesity were around $342.2 billion per year. Think about all that money that is being spent only on medical costs of people that are obese. Now, the indirect cost of decreased productivity tied to obesity are around $8.65 billion per year. So because people are obese, they're not being as productive as those people that are not obese. And it's costing us a lot of money. In New Mexico and in the United States, the percentage of adults who are obese has more than doubled since 1990. Think about it. In the last 20 years, the numbers has doubled. Now, New Mexico Department of Health says that obesity is a population health priority, along with diabetes, substance misuse, and unintended teen pregnancy. So we are taking steps to prevent it. We are taking steps to work on it, but we all need to contribute. We all need to work towards stopping obesity. I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties here for a minute. So what are the contributors to overall health status? Meaning, what contributes to our health? Well, as you can see on the pie chart on the left, 50% of the contributors are our health behaviors. What we do to be healthy. In other words, how we eat, what we eat, and if we exercise or not. Please go back and look at the benefits of exercise presentation we had a few weeks ago. But this comes down into the health behaviors part. Now, 20% is genetics, of course, what we have in our DNA, what we bring from our family. 20% is environment, whatever surrounds us influence our health. And 10% is the access to medical care. Now, we cannot diminish the importance of the access to medical care and how that influences our health, but we need to consider that the other 90% are things that do not have anything to do with medical care. And 70% of what contributes to your health are things you have control over. Your environment and your health behaviors are things you can control. So in New Mexico, these numbers here are the numbers on the state nutrition, the physical activity, and the obesity profile. Let's go over these for a minute. So, talking about people being overweight and obesity, we're talking about 59.8% of our population are overweight with a body mass index of 25 or greater. Look at that number. 60% of us are overweight. Out of 10 people you know, 6 of them are overweight. Now, 25% were obese. And that is of a body mass index of 30 or greater. You need to look at these numbers to kind of understand. It is important that we understand what body mass index is. And we will go into this in our next presentation, which is an hour long. We have a little bit more time to talk about this, but you need to keep this in mind. Now, what about behaviors? 29.8% of adults reported having consumed fruits at a recommended level of 2 or more times per day. We talked about this also about nutrition before. Only 30% of us are consuming enough fruits. And then 27.3% of adults reported having consumed vegetables at the recommended level, or 3 or more times per day. So what does that say? That says that we are not eating enough fruits and vegetables. That's part of the healthy behaviors. We need to make a change in that. Now, there's also social determinants of health. This kind of falls into both physical environment, health behaviors. Yes, of course, healthcare, we talked about that. But look at the numbers again. The socioeconomic factors are 40% of the social determinants of our health. Our education, our job status, our family or our social support, the income we get, the community safety. And 50% of that can be traced back to your zip code, which is part of our physical environment. What about our health behaviors? Tobacco use, of course, is a determinant of our health. Diet and exercise, the amount of alcohol we consume, and the sexual activity. All of these are 30%. 30% health behaviors are part of our social determinants. Now, this 20% down here, it says only 20% include those moments in a healthcare environment. Meaning social determinants are there, but we have health behaviors and socioeconomic behaviors that are a little bit more predominant. Now, this is also a big thing for us in New Mexico, the weight of our children. Now, this was a study, a research study that came out, published in 2019. So this is updated information. The New Mexico Department of Health established its statewide childhood obesity surveillance system in 2010 to understand the extent of obesity amongst the elementary school age population in New Mexico. Now we're talking about elementary age kids here, okay? The system uses body mass index, BMI percentile, and a standardized measurement protocol to monitor the childhood obesity over time and to identify at-risk groups, guide the state and the local prevention efforts, and to inform people. So this was done to help identify the at-risk groups, okay? And then to help, of course, the government put in prevention efforts. So what were the results? They collect and report childhood obesity prevalence data on kindergarten and third grade students annually with support from numerous schools, nursing programs, and volunteers. So we're talking about children in kindergarten and third grade. In the fall of 2019, BMI data was collected from 7,346 students in 59 randomly selected public elementary schools across New Mexico, so across the whole state. So, what were the results? As in previous years, obesity prevalence increases significantly in the 3 years between kindergarten and third grade. Think about that for a minute. Between when a child comes from kindergarten and is starting third grade, the obesity of these children increases. This upward shift suggests a time-sensitive window for preventing excessive weight gain at an early age, particularly among children who are already overweight in kindergarten. So between the first, the second, and the third grade, it is extremely important that you pay attention to the weight of your children. If you need help, go talk to a social worker. Go talk to your pediatrician. Look for more information online of where you can get help. Go back and research nutrition for children. We've been talking about nutrition. Go back and look at our previous presentations. Now, boys are more likely to be obese than girls. And then American Indian students continue to have the highest obesity prevalence compared to Hispanic and white counterparts. In 2019, 29.3% of American Indian third graders were obese compared to 24.5% of Hispanic and 15.8% of white students. So the numbers are there. Obesity among Hispanic third graders have remained relatively unchanged over time, increasing slightly from 22% to 24% between 2010 and 2019. This is troubling since Hispanic students comprise the majority of elementary school-age children in New Mexico. But rates of overweight and obesity continue to remain high across grades, genders, and race ethnicities in New Mexico, highlighting the continuing need for one, more resources and increased collaboration across the state and the local agencies. And 2, increased opportunities for healthy eating and physical activities among preschool and elementary school age children. And of course, their families. So what is this telling us? 1, our numbers are increasing significantly between the 1st and 3rd grade. And it mostly has to do because we should be paying more attention to how our children are eating and how much physical activity they're having. Keep that in mind, parents. So we've already kind of talked to this, but we're going to go through this again. Our nation only spends 4% of total healthcare budget on promoting healthy behaviors. So of all the money that we have for our healthcare budget, only 4% is spent on the promotion of exercise and healthy eating. Why? It's right there, right smack in the middle of the webpage. Lack of patient engagement, which means, simple terms, people are not paying attention. People are not participating. People are not engaging in the change we all need. People know that they should change, but they don't know how, they don't know where, and they don't know when. Plug in at the bottom, Bridge to Health New Mexico, for where you are to where you want to be. We can help. We will be going into this in our next class, but we need to understand that. We need to engage better in our health. We need to change our healthy behaviors. We need to incorporate more physical activity and change our diets for better. Not only for ourselves, which is extremely important, but also for our children, to set an example and to teach them good, healthy habits. So what is the key to behavior? The key to behavior is just tipping the scale very slightly. There's not a big change you need to do. It just needs to start. You can go from being in pain to pain-free. You can go from it being something difficult to something easy. You can go from being unhappy to happy. You can go from being in dissonance to calm, from discomfort to comfort. It is just one slight change that'll tip the scale. So, what are the elements of change? To succeed, you need to understand 3 most important elements in changing a behavior. 1, you need to be ready to change. Do you have the resources and knowledge to make a lasting change successfully? There's 3 words here that are very important. Lasting change successfully. It needs to be a change. It needs to be a change that lasts. And it needs to be a change that is successful. Are you ready for the change? There's also barriers to change. Is there anything preventing you from changing? Access, environment, your behavior, the people around you even sometimes, and the likelihood of relapse. What might trigger a return to a former behavior? So what we need to do is we need to make a change from the unhealthy to the healthy. We need it to be uncomfortable, the unhealthy. We need to make the unhealthy uncomfortable, painful, difficult, unhappy, and it causes dissonance. And we need to make the healthy choices comfortable, pain-free, easy, happiness-inducing, and calming. So let's summarize. We need to be ready to change. We need to make sure that there's nothing that is standing in our way of changing. And we need to realize and consider that there might be something that makes us relapse it and be able to consider that when trying to make a change. And when we start making a change, we need to try and make the unhealthy something we don't want to deal with. So, improving your sense of well-being is key to finding the fulfillment. And it starts with reflecting on what's important to you and then determining the choices and decisions that represent where you want to go. Because knowing your why is critical to any lasting change. So, stuckness. Most unhappy people can feel like they're backed up against a wall. But remember this, change is a choice, something you decide to do. So the first step is to let go of assumptions, ways of doing things, and self-limiting beliefs. It's hard, but we need to get to this. Is fear, guilt, love, pain, or time management getting in your way? How can you choose differently? Now, phases. People tend to cycle through very different stages when making changes in their life, from not being aware a change is needed to being aware but not being able to make a change, all the way to creating and maintaining lasting change. Are you struggling to make an initial step? Do you have a habit of waiting to change? Mindset. You might just need a new perspective. When are you the most miserable? Why are you choosing to incorporate this into your life? Ultimately, you are where you need to be and where you decide to be. Start wherever you are and give yourself permission to choose yourself and what brings you joy. And then we have enthusiasm. Your level of readiness to change and your motivation for doing so usually determine how successful you will be and how quickly you start seeing results. Think about a time you made a successful change and developed a new habit. What was your motivation for the change? What was your attitude at the time? And what obstacles or barriers did you have to overcome? So there's the model of change. And we have 5 stages of change. The first one is, in orange here, pre-contemplation. In pre-contemplation, you need to build awareness for a need to change, which takes us into contemplation. In this stage, you intend to start a healthy behavior within the next 6 months. Okay? Then you have preparation. You want to take action to make the change. Then you have action, which is where you have changed your behavior and you intend to keep moving forward. And then you have maintenance, where you're integrating this sustained behavior and you work to prevent relapses. Think of it as this little chart right here. Contemplation. You're sitting there thinking, I need to do more exercise. How can I do this? Then comes preparation. You say, okay, I'm ready for this. What can I do? So you go in there and you research. What is it that I need to do to start exercising? And then you jump into action. You start exercising. You get yourself into the habit of exercising and you continue doing it. Then you have the maintenance. Okay, I'm going to exercise, and for me to be able to exercise, I need to eat healthy. And then, of course, we're human, so what happens? We relapse. So then we come back into pre-contemplation. Okay, what can I do to get back into it again? And these stages of change are normal. This is normal human behavior. We do this all the time. The whole point of this is we need to convince ourselves to, even if there is relapse, even if we fall down the wagon, we can continue and get up again. So the secret of change is to focus all of our energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Think about it. You're building something new. So we're going to go in, and I am going to show you a small video. Okay. We are going to watch this small video. Shoot. I'm sorry. I am having technical difficulties today. There you go.
The stages of change model, also known as the trans-theoretical model, has been found to be an effective aid in understanding how people go through a change in behavior, like losing weight or quitting cigarettes. The model was formed in the late 1970s by researchers James Prochaska and Carlo Di Clemente, and has 6 distinct stages. Phase 1 is pre-contemplation. Here, a person is not considering change at all. They may even be in denial of a problem. Phase 2 is contemplation, when a person becomes more aware of the benefits, but also the costs. Phase 3 is preparation. A person in this phase might experiment with small changes and begin to prepare for larger life changes ahead. Phase 4 is action. Here, a person begins to take direct action in order to accomplish their goals. Phase 5 is maintenance, where they successfully avoid former behaviors and keep up new ones. And the final phase 6 is relapse. This is a common occurrence in any type of behavior change and can cause a person to experience feelings of failure and disappointment. While relapses can be difficult, the best solution is to start again without being too hard on yourself. Making a change in your behavior and making it stick is not always an easy task. The key to success is to not let setbacks undermine your self-confidence. Remember that change occurs gradually, and relapses are an inevitable part of the process.
So that was today's presentation. There is hope. We do need to make a big change. Obesity is something we're dealing with every day of our lives, and it has dire consequences on our health. Next class, we will be going through it in more detail, and I hope to see you again. Remember, leave your comments, doubts, and questions underneath. Thank you, and you have a good day.